Apple shows off the Mac Mini, and it's tiny. It's like a little sip of milk.
Google better milk their bank accounts.
And AMD is going to milk CES. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. This Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, also known as one day closer to Reece leaving.
Hooray!
Yay! Well, also something that I'm yaying is yesterday's announcement of the brand new Apple Mac Mini. This thing is tiny.
It is so much smaller than I expected.
They made an update in packing it with a new processor, but shrinking down the size to be more reminiscent of an Apple TV than the previous Mac Mini. So this thing is 5 inches by 5 inches, but includes a lot of connectivity. It's got 2 USB-C ports on the front, as you can see there. Headphone jack, they kept that. 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the back. We'll talk about that in a second. HDMI, Ethernet that can be gigabit or 10 gig, and then the power and the power buttons underneath.
It's a weird choice.
I guess, but most Mac people don't turn off their stuff, so I don't.
Mine has been running for
It
over a year,
just
probably.
goes to sleep. It's very good there. But especially once you start seeing the Mac Mini in comparison to other household objects like a DualSense controller, or next to a portable SSD and camera, or next to AirPods themselves, or even the iPhone, you get to know how small this thing is actually. Yes, it's very tiny, and it's packing Apple's latest M4 and M4 Pro chips. So that's going to be up to a 14-core CPU, as well as up to 64 gigs of RAM. And if you get the M4 Pro, you can have Thunderbolt 5 connectivity.
Oh, so that's where that comes in.
Yeah, the M4 regular has Thunderbolt 4. The M4 Pro has Thunderbolt 5, which can go up to 120 gigabits per second. And you can get up to a 20-core GPU on this. So for all of that, it's kind of pricey. It's like $16.99 to get the M4 Pro with the most amount of RAM. The real way that Apple screws people on this generation is the storage still. In order to get it with the max amount of storage, it's like $4,800 with $2,400 of that going to the storage upgrades.
That is nuts.
It is just way better to get the 512 gig and use external SSDs for everything. You get a 4 terabyte external SSD for like $350.
Easy peasy.
Way better that way. So Apple's still pulling off their nonsense, but the M4 Mac Mini is Apple's first carbon neutral Mac, which is a development. And in case you're wondering how much Thunderbolt 5 cables are going to cost, Apple does have a braided black version of that for a nice amount of $69.
Nice, yeah.
Which actually, that is a nice price for Thunderbolt 5. There's not a lot of cables that are capable of that. Like Thunderbolt is an Apple technology shared with Intel. So if Apple's releasing cables for it, it's usually one of the better places to buy it when it's a nascent technology. Like when Thunderbolt 4 came out, the best place to get a cable, or Thunderbolt 3 rather, was with Apple, just because nobody else was making quality ones. But today, we're expecting, or potentially before Friday, we're expecting the announcement of the new MacBook Pros. These are supposed to have the M4, M4 Pro, and M4 Max, which is going to be bigger than what's currently going on. That's it. That's all we know. It's supposed to have 16 gigs of RAM, Thunderbolt 5 as well. That's not much is changing, besides it's going to have the new M4 chips.
Makes sense now why the iMacs didn't have Thunderbolt 4.
5. They have Thunderbolt 4 because they only have the M4 chip. They're not on M4 Pro. It's only the later ones that support Thunderbolt 5, which I think makes sense because the base level chip is not for enthusiasts, and Thunderbolt 5 is going to be more of an enthusiast feature set. If you look at performance benchmarks that Apple's putting out for the M4 and the M4 Pro, they're still really comparing it to the M1 generation and Intel stuff, so it doesn't appear like they're super confident in it defeating the M2 or M3 Pros. So it looks like there's a little bit of stagnation. We still need third-party benchmarks. These things come out November 8th, so we'll see how it actually performs. But I can tell you, I am picking up a Mac Mini. I am very heavily considering an iMac for hot news. Sorry, guys. Apple shill here. And you know what I'm going to use on the Macs?
What?
Today's video sponsor.
Today's video is brought to you by Notion AI. The new face of Notion AI is here, and it actually is this cute little face. Along with this little guy, Notion has launched a ton of useful things that make managing your life and work easier. Being more knowledgeable, more capable, and more private, this is your all-in-one for streamlining your workflow. Notion's AI is able to follow along in your Slack channels as well as your Google Drive to keep you up to date with all of your projects whenever you need to. Now, when Michael forgets to add important campaign information, I don't have to wait for him to answer. I can simply ask Notion AI to give me a summary of whatever campaign brief I'm looking for. Notion AI can also help with that issue where you know you've definitely emailed someone before, but you can't quite remember enough to find their email address. Now I could just ask who my contact is at Notion and what their email address is, and that's that. I'm ready to get my emails started. And while we're on the topic of writing, Notion AI has you covered there too. You can ask your AI to fully rewrite, simply suggest revisions, or edit grammar and format. This is super helpful for reviewing the scripts on our full-length videos when you're thousands of words in, but something still just doesn't feel right. I can even have it help me organically include specific points or details from other documents. Adding to the streamlining of your workflow, and arguably the most popular implementation of AI is the ability to summarize PDFs and images. This is great on the clock and off the clock. Get a huge brief you have to read? Easy. Just ask Notion AI to summarize the points and give you a work plan with priority on the main items. At home with a kinda empty fridge but no willpower to go to the store? Easy. Snap a picture of your barren fridge and ask Notion AI to give you some recipes with your weird ingredients. Notion has made sure that their AI is easy to use, provides high quality work, and most importantly, only surfaces information from places you have access to while never using your data for AI training, so what's yours stays yours. Thanks to Notion for sponsoring this video. You can scan the QR code on the screen or visit the link in the description to get started with Notion for free and unlock the new Notion AI for only $10 a month.
Well, Reece, just like Notion is revolutionizing things, Ayaneo saying that they're going to have a Revo. That's what they're calling their Ayaneo 3. It's codename Revo for Revolution. They put out a little teaser trailer for their next generation handheld. We still don't know if it's going to be Intel or AMD, but they did tease that, and the suggestion is potentially that it's going to be an OLED display, but it probably has like the glass front panel that the Ayaneo 2 and 2S had. So
I did like that about them.
I did as well. I'm waiting for it. And a lot of people were waiting for Intel's new CPUs, the Core Ultra 200 series, but it didn't go across very well when the reviews came out. But now we have compiled reviews. I just want to share this so you kind of get an idea of where everything is across the board. 3D Center went through a bunch of different reviews and kind of conglomerated them into a rough average to see how the 200K compares to the 1400K. And it turns out that Arrow Lake is roughly 5% faster in productivity and 6% slower in gaming. So that's a big disappointment. However, that doesn't paint the full picture because while it is 6% slower in gaming, in certain games, it is abysmally slower, and in some games it's faster, and it averages out to be okay. But if you're playing those games where it's slower, oofy.
You have a bad time.
You're gonna have a bad time, and thankfully the person who delidded the 9800 X3D didn't have a bad time. We get to see what it looks like and confirming that the 3D V cache was put under the CCD. We got to see that with whoever delidded it. It's a real picture. Look at that 9800 X3D right there. Look at that. And check out the deals. Reece is gonna deal you up right now.
Deals. And hey, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. First up today, we have got the Intel Core i5-12600K, which is going for only $79.99, making it $120 off.
That's a great price for an i5, the 12600K.
Now the problem is, it is sold out on the listing, but people are having luck by phoning their local Best Buys and seeing, hey, you got some?
Oh, it's another one of those deals.
Yeah, unfortunately. But then next up, we have the NZXT H6 Flow dual chamber mid-tower case going for only $82.44, making it $27.55 off. I like the look of this thing. I think it's cool. I want to build in one, and hey, going for a deal. And then lastly today we have the Elgato Wave 3 USB condenser microphone, which is what I personally rock as my daily driver back home. You can currently pick this up for only $117.99, making it $32 off. But hey, them's the deals. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, and you're back to back for their so hot news.
Bet. Well, Reece, you know how the Elgato Wave 3 was $32 off and you just turned 32? Did you know we were only supposed to celebrate your birthday for half a minute because it was your 32nd birthday? Okay, well, I got a different deal for you than that, okay? Well, Google is going to need a lot of deals in order to actually pay for this fine that Russia's levying against them. Because Google's been banning some Russia stations, and Russia doesn't like that. So now Google owes Russia 28.5 decillion US dollars, or 2 undecillion rubles, for banning 17 Russian TV channels.
What does that even mean?
That's a lot of money. So the official amount is roughly 20.5 decillion, 541 nonillion, 679 octillion US dollars, which is more money than exists. And the way this happened was because Russia has been levying a 100,000 ruble fine against Google per day that these channels have been blocked, and for every time it doesn't get paid, they double the amount every week. So that has led to this massive increase, and there's no upper limit of how much this fine can go up to, and this has been going on since 2020.
I find this hilarious.
It is hilarious. Obviously, Google's not going to pay this, but it's just a fun little tidbit of Google owes Russia more than anybody could possibly ever pay. They probably need to get on like a Firm or Klarna payment plan in order to get this going.
That accountant in the back office is fuming.
You know what? They probably should just wait for like hyperinflation or something to kick in, and then that way the amount of rubles they owe is just like something like that. Not that I wish hyperinflation on anybody. It's a brutal time. That's probably the better business strategy there. And AMD has got a business strategy about how they're going to launch their new products at CES. We're getting a leaked look at what AMD is going to be showing off this coming January. Just want to point out the leaker has a great photo of Jensen. But the details coming out that we're going to have various different things from laptop APUs to handheld APUs to graphics cards and desktop CPUs, essentially everything that we've been expecting from them. Kraken Point, Strix Halo, as well as their Fire Range Ryzen HX series, so that's going to be for the gaming stuff. The Z2 Extreme, Z2 and Z2G for the gaming
I'm
handhelds.
excited about.
RX 8000 RDNA 4 GPUs being announced, as well as the 9950 and 9900 X3D chips.
It's going to be a busy day.
It's going to be a busy time. All of the things that we're expecting, it's going to be jam-packed. Well, looks like it'll be good. Whether or not, if they're going to be worth it, I don't know. But AMD's going to have a lot to show off.
Either way.
CES is a big time for AMD. Also, we're getting details that they're looking at potentially changing FSR in FSR 4 to bring ray tracing denoising into their system, which is something that DLSS currently does, and kind of goes hand in hand with the details that RDNA 4, the RX 8000, are supposed to be way better at ray tracing. And so the report on GPU Open is that they're actively researching neural techniques for ray tracing denoising to make real-time path tracing happen on RDNA GPUs.
Which would be cool.
It would be very cool. And you know what else is cool? You guys, when you leave comments down below. Over on Floatplane Kryptonite saying, none of these companies are your friend! They have all shown that they will do the same shady practices if they think they can get away with it. Doesn't matter if it's Intel, AMD, Nvidia, Samsung, Apple, you're just a consumer and line must go up.
But they told me I was special.
Yeah, well, we also, there is a distinction to be drawn with publicly traded companies and then companies like Valve, where they are owned by Gaben primarily, and we just have to worry about when he chooses to hand his leadership over or dies. And then
I've thought about that.
Yeah.
I've thought about that.
Or they might potentially choose to go public once that happens, and then they become like everybody else. But that's also why we get things like the Steam Deck OLED, and then they're not going to come out with the Steam Deck 2 for a long time because they don't have to march to the drum of quarterly reports to their shareholders. Yeah. They can march to Gaben says, no, we don't know how to count past 2. We're never releasing more than 2 Steam Decks. Done.
They're just going to change the name.
That's it. Then over on YouTube, we got GamerNo saying, AMD about to be rich with this one.
How rich?
So rich, they changed their name. Hexadecimal saying, Google takes over your computer, gathering research. So even more data harvesting? Yes. That's the only way these companies continue to get the line to go up is by constantly consuming.
You don't want to give the AI access to your browser? For shame.
Just give it all your data. Let it have it. Then Eli Bolton saying, AI can do CAPTCHA tests? AI is officially more human than me. And Obi-Wan saying, I want the AI to surf the web for me while I do chores like wash the dishes, pass the vacuum cleaner, etc. That's a chore.
What do you mean by pass the vacuum cleaner?
I don't know what they mean, but that's what I want. I want AI to do the fun things while I do the manual labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the future we need.
That's the future.